I think 26 is going to be one of those years that I think it's once in a generation. The regulatory tailwinds are tremendous.
Venu Palaparthy joins us now for a one-on-one interview at Money2020 in Las Vegas, Nevada. He is the Chief Operating Officer at Drivewealth, and it is great to have you here today. Thanks for taking the time.
Thank you, JD. Thanks for having me.
Talk to me about the big year, the big momentum that Drivewealth has had that really brings us into this Money2020 event. What have been those big drivers of growth for the company?
We've, at Drivewealth, we've been focused 100% on our core mission, which is breaking barriers and expanding access. So every announcement in 2025 just reflect those two goals. As an example, we just announced the leading consumer tech, app, OnePay, just added us for investing on their platform. We also signed with BTC Turk, which is Turkey's most trusted crypto platform. And users of these platforms now can seamlessly access US markets without a lot of friction. Just sign up, do your KYC, and you're able to now access US markets. With respect to expanding access, we've kind of had two different recent announcements. One is with overnight trading, right? Previously, there was a single ATS that offered overnight trading. Now it's become a multi-market ecosystem, and we announced that we are now connected to all three of those venues for overnight trading. Similarly, we just announced that we are enabling access to alt funds. So now, retail investors can actually access alts through our platform. So that's the broader theme. Like, we basically continue to invest our time and resource into making embedded investing possible.
Venu, talk to me about some of the ways that you think 24-hour trading is becoming much more of a necessity, knowing market sentiment for retail and institutional investors are like, they don't sleep, and maybe they don't want to be stuck to the traditional time schedule of investing in the markets.
That's absolutely right. The next-gen investor is not, they don't live in the US, and even if they do live in the US, they don't actually operate by conventional market hours, right? They're attached to their phones, they are digitally native, they're mobile heavy users, and they want to be able to trade when the news breaks, not next morning when the market opens. As you know, Drivewealth supports 100 partners that are global, and it's kind of important for us to be able to provide access to US markets during their waking hours. So if you're in Australia or New Zealand or India or Turkey or wherever, you need to be able to wake up and look at your portfolio and take the necessary actions. So forcing them to only trade during US market hours is, I think, passé.
How do you see tokenization, or how do you hope maybe tokenization continues to change the way that investors ultimately have access to markets?
Tokenization is actually a foundational shift. I mean, I'm from the dinosaur era, right? I've seen actually my first company that went public, I have a paper certificate showing ownership of shares. And then obviously we went to electronic book entry, and the next generation is going to understand tokenization as the only way to represent their ownership. However, in order for us to get there, we need the regulatory frameworks that would make it possible so that we can keep customer trust intact. And once you have that, tokenization has tremendous benefits, right? First of all, it's transparency of the blockchain. Second, it's fractionalization made easy. And thirdly, you can actually do stuff with your tokens, whether it's P2P or perhaps it's collateralizing your tokens. The possibilities are limitless. However, we need to build the right framework for it.
There's a really interesting debate happening, I think, throughout the financial markets about the impact of artificial intelligence, right? Will it encourage efficient, long-term investing behavior? Will it issue in this era that you and I are discussing of more 24-hour trading? How do you view that playing out? Is it a little bit of both?
I think it's a bit of both. AI is another foundational shift that we are witnessing. So, we do some really unsexy work at Drivewealth, right? We are where rubber hits the road. So there are so many aspects of what we do that can benefit from AI in invisible ways. And how they actually impact the investor is how we present all of the things that the investor needs to make smart decisions, right? So I call it the prism, right? How we deliver prices. There's so much pricing information to process, and these are signals that impact your investment. So AI can be useful there. Ratings, right? Analyst ratings. How do you actually parse through that? AI helps. Insights. How do you draw insights from all of the news that's breaking around you? That's not directly related to the investment that you hold, but in some correlated asset. So that's insights. Then you have sentiment, and then you have macros. So that's the prism. I think AI actually it impacts each of those 5 attributes. And if you're a next generation investor, you need to be smart about how you use AI, and then you could you could actually improve your returns.
For whatever it's worth, I happen to think Drivewealth's work is very sexy in the modern banking era. For whatever it's worth, you and I are having this conversation. We're pushing into Q4 for the year here. I wonder, talk to me about your outlook, your guidance for emerging trends and new technologies that you're on the lookout for as it pertains to the everyday investor for 2026.
I think 26 is going to be one of those years that I think it's once in a generation. The regulatory tailwinds are tremendous. My former boss, Paul Atkins, is intentional, and he wants to bring about changes in the rules that haven't happened in 20, 30 years now, right? So what do we look out for? One of the big trends is financial supermarket apps. Now, the same digital native user now wants to not just access investments, they want to access other asset classes, like prediction markets, for example. So how do we bring that seamless 3-click access to a variety of asset classes by doing one KYC? That's a big trend in 2026. Stablecoin is another big trend. Fiat rails is how settlements occurred over the last 2 or 3 generations, right? Like, how do we go from fiat banking rails to stablecoin rails? There's going to be regulatory clarity, and I think interoperability is going to be something we will be looking out for, and then ultimately how regulation ensures customer trust is never broken. These are the 3 big trends, right? Clarity, consistency, customer trust. If we can protect all those 3 and then create this financial supermarket app, I think users will benefit, and 26 is going to be a milestone.
Venu Palaparthy of Drivewealth, very grateful for your time here in Las Vegas, Nevada. Great to have you today.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.